This is the story of Howard University in Washington, D.C., a truly remarkable institution. An institution founded nearly 100 years ago for the purpose of meeting one of the nation's most vital needs. An institution which, having accomplished its original mission, now looks toward its second century and an even greater mission. It all began in 1866. The signing of the Emancipation Proclamation by Abraham Lincoln and the end of the Civil War 2 years later were followed by a breakdown in the economy of the South. But 150 years of the dreaded slave system had hardly prepared the freedmen for the responsibilities which would be theirs. The freedman would soon have to assume the responsibilities of his newly won citizenship. But first, he would have to be prepared to undertake these responsibilities. Under the leadership of General Oliver Otis Howard, Civil War hero and commissioner of the Freedmen's Bureau, a group of devoted men met in 1866 to discuss the need for a new university. From this meeting was to come the plan which gave birth to Howard University on March 2nd, 1867. And soon the campus began to take form. There was the main building, the medical building, Minor Hall for women, and Clark Hall for men. Most of the old buildings have been razed, but still standing, as it did in 1872, is Spalding Hall, the third classroom building to be erected. Then there is Howard Hall, originally the home of General Howard, but a classroom building since 1890. Third and last of the 19th century buildings still standing at Howard University is Andrew Rankin Chapel. Built in 1894, it serves today, as then, as a place of worship for students of all faiths. Into this setting back in 1926 came Mordecai Wyatt Johnson, a young Baptist minister who had been summoned to lift Howard University from the throes of mediocrity to a position of importance on the educational map. And lift he did. Only one of Howard's 8 schools and colleges was accredited when Dr. Johnson came. But when he retired 34 years later, there were 10 schools and colleges, all fully accredited. In addition, President Johnson was to provide for Howard one of the finest physical plants of its kind in the nation. One of the many advantages that Howard University students enjoy is the school's location in the nation's capital. Here, Howard University students are everyday witnesses to history in the making. They are frequent visitors to the Capitol building and the halls of Congress. Many are the hours that the Howard student spends at the agencies of the federal government in his quest for knowledge. The Smithsonian Institution, the Library of Congress, the Supreme Court, and the National Gallery of Art. Yes, Howard University's location in the nation's capital offers its students advantages which few institutions in other American cities can match. Howard University has come a long way in its first 100 years. Frederick Douglass Memorial Hall is one of 8 classroom buildings for the College of Liberal Arts, largest of the university's 10 schools and colleges. It is also the center of most undergraduate activity at Howard. One of the newer curricula of the College of Liberal Arts is the Honors Program. This is an enriched course of study for a select group of exceptionally talented students. The graduate school also has its unique curricula, including a special program of African studies. Here, African nationals, as well as students from throughout the world, study and plan for careers in or related to the newly emerging nations of Africa. In this zoology laboratory, a student uses centrifugal chromatography in one of his experiments. More than 150 laboratories equipped with subcritical nuclear reactors, electron microscopes, computers, heart-lung machines, and hundreds of other pieces of modern research aids are available to the Howard student. This is the College of Fine Arts, made up of the School of Music and the departments of Art and Drama. Ira Aldrich Theater is the classroom and production studio for the Department of Drama and home of the Howard Players, the university's student dramatic group. Here, the Howard Players rehearsed for the Japanese drama Rashomon, one of their 1961 productions. It was a group such as this, back in 1949, that thrilled audiences of Norway, Denmark, Sweden, and Germany on a 3-month tour of Europe. As a result of their tour, the Players won the coveted Silver Anvil Award of the American Public Relations Association for their outstanding contribution to international public relations. Crampton Auditorium is the third major section of the Auditorium Fine Arts building. A visit to Crampton Auditorium is always a thrill, particularly when the Howard University Choir is performing. This group of singers, under the direction of Dean Warner Lawson, has been described by more than one critic as one of the world's finest choruses. For its 80-day Latin American tour in 1960, the choir won the National Federation of Music Clubs Annual Award for distinguished contributions to international relations. Listen now as the Howard University Choir sings excerpts from Carmina Burana by Carl Orff. The College of Pharmacy is housed in this modern structure and prepares students for careers in pharmacy and related endeavors. In this well-equipped dispensing laboratory, the pharmacy student gets practical experience in all phases of the preparation and distribution of drugs. The School of Engineering and Architecture is made up of the departments of architecture, civil, electrical, and mechanical engineering. Engineering and architecture students make use of an abundance of modern equipment and machinery. Turbines, wind tunnels, generators and motors, and materials testing machines. The School of Religion is a non-denominational seminary preparing students for careers as pastors, counselors, teachers, and many other phases of religious and civic activity. In the little chapels, students receive their first experience in the pulpit. They deliver their sermons to fellow students and faculty members, then submit to their critique. Students in the School of Social Work spend much of their time in the field, at social agencies, in health and welfare institutions, and in the homes of clients. On returning from the field, social work students must report their experiences to faculty members in conferences such as this. The Howard University School of Law offered the first formal course in civil rights law in any American school. Here today, probably more so than at any other law school, the student has determined that his primary objective as a lawyer will be that of defending the constitutional principle of equality under law. In this modern moot courtroom, Howard Law students study and learn under actual courtroom conditions. The College of Dentistry houses 8 clinics with 177 chairs. Prosthodontia is one of the clinics where advanced dental students receive practical experience. Each cubicle is a complete unit in itself where the student can work without undue interruption. This is the preclinical building of the College of Medicine, where first and second year medical students receive their training. The medical students' third and fourth years of training are spent in the hospital. Junior and senior students are divided into small groups in order that each may have an opportunity to examine patients and ask questions of their teachers. The Howard student has a life outside the classroom. Dormitory living, for example, is an important factor in the learning process. All dormitories have modern parlors where residents receive their guests. Well-equipped recreation areas afford relaxation for the student during his leisure hours. Harriet Tubman Quadrangle is made up of the 5 women's residence halls. Its dormitory rooms are modern and well furnished and provide an ideal facility for study as well as for comfortable living. Some 2,500 meals are served each day in the university cafeteria. The cafeteria style of service enables each student to select his own food. He takes as much or as little as he wishes. Yes, Howard University is a home away from home for the student. Founders Library is the core of Howard University's extensive library system. In all, the libraries contain some 400,000 volumes and subscribe to 2,500 periodicals. One of the features of Founders Library is the largest collection of reading material on the Negro to be found anywhere in the world. Founders Library contains shelf on shelf of reference material on every conceivable subject. In the administration building, many services are available which help make the student's stay at Howard both pleasant and profitable. One such service is student employment. Be the need for a few dollars for Saturday night's prom or for sustaining employment to help pay tuition and living expenses, more often than not, the Office of Student Employment can help. One of the most popular spots in the building is the Graduate Placement Board. Each year, representatives of more than 100 of the nation's largest employers visit Howard to interview prospective graduates. The academic procession marks the beginning of a major event at Howard University. This was April 26, 1961, and Dr. James Madison Nabritt, Jr., a distinguished constitutional lawyer and educator, was about to be installed as the 14th president of Howard University. Nearly 700 marchers made up the academic procession that day. On hand were representatives of educational institutions throughout the world, including the presidents of 52 American colleges and universities. Also represented were the faculties, alumni, and students of Howard University. The platform party for the inaugural was made up of ranking officials of the university, including members of the Board of Trustees, the principal speakers for the occasion, and the honoree himself, Dr. Nabritt. Here, the procession makes its way into Crampton Auditorium, where the inaugural ceremonies took place. Mr. Lorimer Milton, president of the Citizens Trust Company of Atlanta and chairman of the Howard Board of Trustees, presided. The Honorable Abraham Ribicoff, Secretary of Health, Education, and Welfare, was an inaugural speaker. He said that the Kennedy administration and Howard University will toil in the vineyard together in preparing students to serve their country and all humanity. Dean Irwin Griswold of the Harvard Law School delivered the principal inaugural address. The noted legal educator called upon President Nabritt and the university to continue the leadership which Howard has provided for nearly 100 years in seeking full citizenship and equal opportunity for all Americans. Then came the big moment: Dr. Nabritt's installation as the 14th president of the university. Dr. Peter Marshall Murray of New York City, a Howard graduate and a longtime member of the Board of Trustees, officiated during the investiture. The charter of the university is presented to Dr. Nabritt. Then the seal of office. and Howard University has a new president. In his inaugural address, President Nabrett pledged the leadership of Howard University in alleviating many of the problems which confront the nation and the world. He called upon the university faculties for immediate studies of the status of the Negro in the United States today and the problems of the people of the newly emerging nations. The president declared that his every effort would be devoted to developing Howard University into a first-class institution of higher learning in every respect. The culmination of a year of military instruction and training at Howard University comes with the annual observance of Reserve Officers Training Corps Day. It is a day given over to the hundreds of male undergraduate students who are enrolled in the two military detachments, Army and Air Force. 2 years of ROTC training are required of all male students who are American citizens and who have not served in the armed forces. The student who qualifies may also take a 3rd and 4th year of training and be commissioned as a 2nd lieutenant in the Army or Air Force at the time of his graduation. This is the annual May Festival, another of Howard University's colorful special events. The May Queen leads the procession down the terrace steps. She is escorted by the president-elect of the Liberal Arts Student Council. The May Festival is under the direction of the Department of Physical Education for Women and has as its purpose the interpretation of the tradition, ideals, and spirit of the university. Here, the May Queen receives her crown from alma mater, a role played each year by a distinguished woman graduate of the university. Now the Queen reigns in all her glory as the festival of song, dance, and pageantry goes on below. In the fall, there is football, and the highlight of any football season is the homecoming game. Howard alumni, young and old, from many miles away, wend their way back to the campus for this weekend of nostalgia. Homecoming at Howard is hard to beat for color and pageantry. Then there is football. In this case, it was Howard in the white jerseys versus Hampton Institute of Virginia. Football is but one of 13 varsity sports at Howard University, making intercollegiate competition available to more than 300 students each year. In addition, the varsity teams are chosen from the student body rather than a selected array of athletes, affording every male student an opportunity to participate in the sport of his choice. The annual commencement exercises mark the end of many months of study and work. Vice President Lyndon Johnson delivered the commencement address in 1961. The Vice President is but one of a long line of world leaders who have participated in convocations and similar programs at Howard University. Commencement at Howard is also a time to recognize the achievements of persons outside the university community. During these exercises, honorary degrees were conferred upon Otto Kleinberg, Columbia University psychologist and anthropologist, Hildreth Poindexter, United States Public Health Service Authority on Tropical Diseases, and Robert Weaver, Administrator of the Housing and Home Finance Agency. This portrait hangs in the main lobby of Founders Library for all to see. This is General Oliver Otis Howard, the leader in the effort of nearly 100 years ago to establish the institution which now bears his name. The story of Howard University during its first 100 years is almost legendary. As the nation's only comprehensive university system where Negroes are in majority attendance, Howard will have conferred nearly 30,000 degrees at the time of its 100th anniversary in 1967. More than 50% of the nation's Negro physicians, surgeons, and dentists are graduates of Howard University. The same is true of 25% of the nation's lawyers. Thousands of leaders in other professional fields also have studied here. There is scarcely a community in the United States today with a significant number of Negro residents which does not boast Howard men and women among its leaders. But Howard is not an institution for the Negro alone. Today, the university enrolls the largest percentage of foreign students in the nation, nearly 1,000 students from more than 60 countries. Howard University has done more than provide a seat of learning for its students. It has provided an environment in which scholarship could develop and flourish for all. Its faculty today, as in the past, represents the largest gathering of Negro scholars to be found anywhere in the world. The faculties of Howard University have produced, among others, philosopher-educator Alain Locke, blood plasma specialist Charles Drew, chemist Percy Julian, civil rights pioneer Charles Houston, federal judge William Hasty, biologist Ernest Everett Just, sociologist Kelly Miller, and Ralph Bunche of the United Nations. An institution with a glorious past, Howard University has an even more promising future. We have asked President Nabor to tell us of the outlook for Howard University as it approaches its 100th birthday.
At Howard, we take pride in the history and achievements of the university during its first 100 years. At the same time, however, we look forward to the future with great eagerness. The course of human life has been brightened by the pursuit of learning and the desire of people to know more about the earth and the universe of which the world is only a part. The future of Howard, therefore, is inextricably bound up with this pursuit of knowledge. It is our intent that as a center of study and intellectual activities, the influence of Howard shall grow by attracting increasingly large numbers of gifted students. Our student body and faculty, made up of men and women composed of many races and creeds, aided by our growing resources, calls us to be optimistic regarding the future development of the university. It is understood at Howard, as elsewhere, that every institution needs to engage in a continuous appraisal of its goals, accompanied by changes necessary to secure these objectives. Here at Howard, the Centennial Committee, whose members include trustees, teachers, students, and alumni, is at work not only to organize the university's celebration of its 100th anniversary in 1967, but also to assist in our plans for future years. We shall continue at the university to hold to the purposes of our founders, that Howard University shall be a place where men and women can engage in serious study, judged solely by their competence and character, irrespective of the conditions of their birth and environment. with the inspiration and support of those who share this commitment, the university shall come ever closer to the full realization of the words inscribed on its seal, Veritas et Utilitas, truth and service.
And this is the distinguished group of men and women who will lead the way into the second 100 years, the Howard University Board of Trustees. It was nearly 100 years ago that Howard University set out to provide leadership for a newly emancipated people in their quest for full citizenship. Today, the achievement of this objective is within sight. With the second century will come new objectives, and an even more vigorous effort to see that these objectives are achieved. Ever mindful of its motto, truth and service for God and country, Howard University's mission in its second century will be accomplished.